I'd like to welcome everybody to our program, which is being co-hosted by the Vaad of Queens, especially for the Queens community, as well as Kashruth Concerns under the leadership of Rabbi in Kew Gardens Hills. I just want to make sure that everything's working properly. Just again, use the chat function, everyone can tell me if they can hear me and if they can see me as well. I will be sharing my screen in a minute to go through a slide for the presentation. Okay, I've been informed that for many people this is the first time that they're making Pesach, possibly ever, or in a long time. So we're going to go through some of the common questions that come up about food topics, about products, and we'll try to see if it will also take some questions at the end about what needs hashgach for Pesach, what doesn't need hashgach for Pesach, as well as what might be the problem. So the objectives of today's presentation is we're going to go a little bit about the background of kosher and kosher for Pesach food. What makes it unique? What is it that the OU is busy with almost a whole year? A lot of people have called up our offices recently and have asked us, is the kosher food supply chain, especially for Pesach, going to be impacted by the coronavirus? Rabbi actually gave out a statement to numerous media outlets today and yesterday that it won't be impacted because, as a matter of fact, the kosher Pesach food has all been finished, most of it in 2019. We actually have more kosher Pesach production that's going on right after Pesach than right before Pesach. So we're going to talk a little bit about what makes it unique, what changes. We'll talk about the edible food items, which products can you have a Pesach, which ones require special Pesach certification, which ones don't. Non-edibles, which is always a big question. If I can't eat it, what's the story in Pesach? And we'll touch briefly on some medicines and nutritionals. This one is a very big question here because of the whole coronavirus. And if there's demand for it, we can actually bring in one of our ingredient and pharmaceutical experts at a later date to give a more thorough and comprehensive overview of the medicinal and nutritional Passover environment. So just a little bit of the background. The question always is, why are Jews so obsessed with food? You take a look at Jewish life in general. We have that, whenever you have a Kiddush and Shul after Shabbos, the holidays, the Sudas Mitzvah, whatever is going on. Someone told me that's hard to hear. Is this any better? Let me know in the chat. Don't let me know if they can hear. That'd be great. Okay. So the question is, why is it that Jews are so obsessed with food? Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. The Zoom is the learning curve, and it's a work in progress. Yeah, unfortunately, when I'm working from home, sometimes the internet is as good as we can. Okay, I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. I'm working off of different lines over here. So the question really is, what's the story with food? Why is it that we are so obsessed with food as Jews? And I believe the answer can actually be found in Parshas Bereshis. The Tzaddik HaKohen from Lublin actually explains that the original sin of mankind, of Adam Rishon, was through eating the Eitz Hadas, was through eating the forbidden food. And since that was the first that's the first sin that the Jews did, in order to atone for that, in order to have a kapar for that, everything we do in this world revolves around food. So Pesach is no exception. We see that Pesach itself is all about the food. Additionally, Pesach itself has multiple symbolisms of food. We have the chametz that refers to some of the averos, things that have been left to rise and spoiled. We have the matzah, which represents the Jews, both the Jews living in Egypt in a hurry. The charoset represents the mortar of the Jews had to use to put the bricks together in Egypt. The mortar, the bitter life that the Jews had in Egypt. So food not only is an integral part, not only eating, it's an integral part of the Seder, it's an integral part of Pesach as well. So the question is, what type of Kashruth concerns could there be, with food? So I'd like to just briefly break up how we produce a kosher product into three basic steps. The first step that we have in kosher production is ingredients. That means that all the ingredients that are being used, whether it's for kosher or kosher Passover foods, requires that it either has to be from a kosher source or a kosher-proof source. Certain things are inherently kosher from any source, let's say fluid milk regularly, or water, some of the basic chemical components. But we need to make sure that all the ingredients used in the food production are kosher certified or kosher proof. The next step is the methods and processes. We have to make sure that the lines themselves are kosher. If there's something that might be dairy on the line or something that's parve on the line or meat, we have to make sure that there's proper koshering in between. Or if there's something not kosher on the line, we have to also make sure that there's nothing that can impact the kosher status of that product. Same thing comes to Passover production, that we will go ahead and make sure that it's properly kosher for Pesach, and there's a mashgiach there at all times checking over the procedures. And then finally, we need to make sure that there is a registration of that final product. Again, one of the things we have is our hotline, which is ringing off the hook this time of year. We're averaging currently about 200 calls a day to our hotline. Before Pesach, it's going through the week before Pesach, it averages 600 calls a day, with some days that we have up to 1,000 calls. And people want to know if the product is certified in general, if it's certified in Pesach. If we don't have a registration of that product, both legally and logistically, there's no way for us to be able to verify that that product is indeed kosher certified. So in this situation, we need to make sure that we have registration of that product as well. So let's talk a little bit about the food items that are certified for Pesach. So this is actually an advertisement from Heinz back, I believe, in 1942 during World War II. You can see over here the Heinz, which was the first major OU certification that we had. Actually, the OU symbol was created at the behest of the Heinz Corporation. Put out an advertisement. This is actually one of the local Pittsburgh Jewish newspapers, letting people know that although Heinz products are certified by the OU, they are not kosher for Passover, so that there will be no issues for the community buying something which wasn't Pesach, as none of the Heinz varieties are Pesach. So, what are some things that might be a problem on Pesach? Well, obviously, that's chametz from the five grains: wheat, barley, oats, rye, and spelt. Once they come in contact with water and allowed to rise, will become chametz, and those are not allowed in the product, even in minute amounts. Then we get into kitniyos, which are legumes, beans, corn, and the like, which for Ashkenazim is a problem. The Ashkenazic minhag custom is on Pesach not to eat, consume anything that has kitniyos legumes in it, as well as not to, and as opposed to the Sfardim, who will use the kitniyos. The Sfardim is also kibrach, which is a mixture of matzah with water, and those that come from a Hasidic background will not use that either. So the following items are considered kitniyos according to our records. We have the beans, buckwheat, caraway, cardamom, corn, edamame, fennel seeds, fenugreek, flaxseed, green beans, hemp seeds, lentils, millet, mustard, peas, poppy seeds, rapeseed, rice, sesame seeds, soybeans, sunflower seeds, teff, and teff. These are not kitniyos, so Ashkenazim could eat them, but they require special checking. Even if we go back to the kitniyos screen for a second here, even for those Sfardim who do eat kitniyos, the minhag is, except the halacha actually is, that they would have to check each of these items 3 times to make sure that there's no extraneous chametz that might have gotten mixed up into the packaging. The same thing would be for these. These would be acceptable for anyone who's not, even if they're not trying to Ashkenazim, but they would have to require special checking, including anise, carob, chia seeds, coriander, cottonseed, cumin, guar gum, locust bean gum, safflower, and saffron. The question is, what about amaranth and peanuts? That is a debate among poskim. At one point in time, the OU actually did use peanuts, and we certified peanut oil as kosher Pesach. However, that has stopped in recent years, so we no longer certify anything with peanuts as kosher for Passover. So what might be acceptable for Pesach, even without special Passover certification? One of them would be milk. For those that For those that want to purchase milk before Pesach, if you can't get Kosher Pesach in Queens and most major Jewish communities, the milk that's on the shelves in the store is Kosher Passover certified. However, there are places where people cannot get Kosher Passover milk, provided that the milk is bought before Pesach. That will be acceptable because sometimes the vitamins A and D or other additives that add to milk can be considered the chametz, but they would be bottled, they'd be nullified before Pesach as well. At Pesach, it's more problematic because if there is a small amount of chametz inside of it, it won't become nullified on Pesach. So if you have to buy the milk on Pesach, you need to purchase Kosher Passover milk on Pesach itself. A lot of questions we get is, about oil. We're having a hard time finding oil. What type of oil can you use? So we're happy to announce that any extra virgin olive oil, when bearing regular OU certification, would be acceptable for Pesach use as well. There's those who like to use other oils as well. And if you take a look at our website at oupassover.org, we have a product search bar there that allows you to search for all of our certified products for Passover. Some of those include avocado oil. So we allow the avocado oil from Chosen Foods when bearing the regular OU symbol. And for those who like coconut oil, any virgin coconut oil will be acceptable for Pesach as well. The question also comes about bottled water, the same thing for bottled water and for seltzer. And that is that as long as there's no additives in the bottled water, there's no additives in the seltzer, if they're both unflavored, they would be acceptable for Pesach. There's some of the new waters out there that now have all sorts of antioxidants and minerals and the like that are added to it. A lot of times they use a chametz in a tablet format, which is then added to the water and dissolved. So for those, we say those waters that have, for example, like Smart Water, which is OU certified, we recommend buying it before Pesach, because then the water would be the chametz would be buccal and the water would be acceptable. But otherwise, if there's nothing added to that water or plain unflavored seltzer, that would be acceptable as well. Same thing with salt. If you buy regular salt that is uniodized, would be acceptable without special Pesach certification. But if it's iodized, that could consider be a problem. A lot of people need to have their coffee. So the question is, what's with coffee? So when it comes to coffee beans, regular ground beans and the like, all coffee beans are fine when bearing a regular OU. That's talking about the whole bean. The grinders in the stores can be problematic because of the flavor coffees that are ground on them. But if you're grinding your own beans, there is no problem with the regular. However, decaf beans can be a problem because they're decaffeinated using ethyl acetate, which is an alcoholic derivative. And depending on where in the world that alcohol is sourced from, it could be from either corn or from wheat-based. Mostly in Europe, it's wheat-based. And so therefore, we don't recommend using decaf coffees without decaf coffee beans without special supervision. With regard to the instant coffees, a lot of times the instant coffees is maltodextrin and the floating, which could also be conceivably chametz or Kitniyos. So therefore, we really recommend that you do not purchase any instant coffees without special certification, unless otherwise noted. Again, if you look at our OU Passover.org website, there are numerous coffees that we found to be acceptable for Pesach without any special Passover certification. One example would be Folgers. The regular Folgers, both regular and decaf in the instant variety, would be acceptable for Pesach even without an OU Passover symbol on the label. So then the question comes up, what's the story with bananas? People, we talked about in the title, we talked about bananas. So all fresh fruits and vegetables would be acceptable for Pesach. However, different people have different minhagim, different customs with regards to Pesach, and those that come from a Hasidic background tend to only allow fruits and vegetables that they can peel. So again, you have to go according to whatever your custom is, speak to your rabbi about it. But again, the Baruch Hashem, in the stores here, my wife was at the store yesterday, are fully stocked with fruits and vegetables, and there should be no problem with that. What about frozen fruits and veggies when you buy in the freezer case? So frozen vegetables are often washed in a water that contains an anti-foaming agent which prevents it from foaming over, and those anti-foams might be not kosher Pesach. Additionally, some companies will pack pasta products on the same type of machinery. Therefore, in an abundance of caution, we do not recommend any frozen vegetables without special Passover certification. However, the same is not true with regards to frozen fruit, and therefore any frozen fruit, provided it has hashgacha, does not require special Passover certification. The question also is what about frozen fish? A lot of times this year, I mean, there's less people out at the stores, but if you don't mind waiting in line at Costco when they do social distancing, it takes about 15 minutes, half an hour to get in a lot of places. A lot of times the Kirkland salmon is on sale this time of year, so we have approved the Kirkland Atlantic. The farm-raised salmon is acceptable without the plain OU symbol. The Kirkland Wild salmon is acceptable, but we recommend it to be rinsed off further. There are some of the Wellesley farms at BJ's that we've approved as well, and at Wegmans that we've approved for Pesach with the plain OU symbol. And again, I would refer you to the OU Passover website that has a list of the frozen fish that we've approved for Pesach. Excuse me. What about spices? Spices get to be a little more tricky, and they require special Passover certification because they are processed on equipment that can often contain hummus. It can also be adulterated with Kitniyos But. The spice factories have a million different things that are flying in the air, and there's no way to really guarantee what's in that without special Passover certification, where they make sure everything's clean and there's nothing else flying across the equipment in the air. A lot of people say, well, I'm in a location now, I can't get kosher Passover spices. So again, the salt, as long as it's not iodized, will be fine. And pepper will be fine. You can buy the whole peppercorns and either get a peppercorn grinder or the self-contained units that will allow you to grind up the peppers. That would be acceptable as well. Quinoa is always a question. And we got the question a lot at the OU until finally the OU caterers started saying, well, we need quinoa to produce sushi. So for Pesach. So it's really a machlokas between different Rabbanim. We really recommend that you speak to your Rav about if he allows quinoa, if he doesn't allow quinoa. The truth of the matter is that according to most poskim and the way we've decided at the OU is that the quinoa really has no relationship to Kitniyos and therefore would be acceptable. However, we do recommend that you only buy with Passover certification because the way that the quinoa is packaged high up in the Andes Mountains in Peru, there is barley that are on those lines. So therefore, we only recommend with a special Passover certification on the quinoa. Wine and alcohol, it's like Rabbi Genack spoke about before, that not all OU wines are certified for Pesach. There are some that use flavoring and Kitniyos that are not acceptable for Pesach, but the vast majority of them are certified OUP as kosher for Passover, and we recommend you check your wine before using them on Pesach. What about bubblegum? Everyone likes their bazooka or their other candies. So again, bubblegum contains all sorts of additives, as stearates. It contains various flavors, which are kosher sensitive, and without having proper Pesach certification, one would not be able to partake of that. So again, we'll go on a little bit from the non-food items. What about brooms? So we don't recommend that anyone eat the broom. It's not such a great idea. But all we do recommend is that, if you use the broom to sweep for hummus, to get a new broom head that's clean and has no particles of hummus in it. So the question for this year that has come up more than in the past is what's the story of hand sanitizer? And this is a little bit more complicated because the hand sanitizer is an alcohol-based, a high alcohol-based, which could conceivably be derived either from a wheat ethanol or corn ethanol. So the good news is that in the United States, just about all the alcohol, all the ethanol, all the industrial alcohol is derived from corn, which then make it only Kitniyos, which then would not be a problem for anybody to use as a hand sanitizer on Pesach. Even if it were to come from wheat-based alcohol, it also would not be a problem because it's denatured. What they do is they don't want people going around and just, getting a high off of drinking Purell and the sort. So therefore the companies are required by law to add a denaturant to it, which now makes the hand sanitizer or the products such as perfumes or deodorants inedible and not able to be eaten, and therefore that would not be a problem. Even if people say, well, Moshe has a tshuva that says, well, if you can take the product and make it back into a safe-to-eat product, it would be a problem. The denaturant is such that most people cannot go ahead and take the denaturant media out of it. It would require multi-million-dollar equipment and a very high-tech lab to be able to remove that. So for most people, it's not an issue, therefore there's no problem using those hand sanitizers or Purell on Pesach. I mean, I do have a friend who was a social worker in the psych ward at the Kings County Hospital. He told me after I spoke on this one time at Charles Schultz on Shul on Shabbos, he said, well, we actually had a patient this week who pulled all Purell dispensers off the wall and drank them. He said, Hagufa, that bottle dice they call it, we're dealing with somebody in the psych ward. That's not what a normal person would normally do. Question always comes up, what's the story with paper goods? From our perspective, there is no issue with the paper goods, the coatings that are on it. They would only be at worst corn-derived, and those are not a problem to have, a benefit to have a hana from Pesach. And most of them don't even have those that as they have the corn on it either. So here's a whole list of other items that don't require kosher certification. Those include for Pesach, those include aluminum foil baking pans, baby ointments, bags, whether the paper or plastic, body washes, bowl, tub cleaners, candles, cardboard, carpet cleaners, charcoal, cheesecloth, conditioners, copper and metal cleansers, corks, cosmetics, cupcake holders, cups, whether the paper, plastic, styrofoam, deodorants, detergents, dishwashing detergents, drain openers, fabric protectors, furniture polish, glass cleaners, hair gel sprays and mousse, hair removers and treatments, insecticides, isopropyl alcohol, jewelry polish, laundry detergent, lotions, any of those hand lotions, even the ones that like Aveeno that have wheat in it. Again, it's not a problem. It's denatured, well, not denatured, but it's inner oil, Adam, or even like Alcohol. That's not something that a person can eat or even a dog will eat, therefore it would be acceptable at Pesach. Paper napkins, oven cleansers, paper towels, perfumes, plastic containers, plates, scouring pads, shampoo, shaving cream and gel, shaving lotion, silver polish, skin cream, soaps, any of the soaps, suntan lotions, talcum powder, toilet bowl cleaner, water filters, and again, hand sanitizer. Somebody just pointed out, Rabbi Sigmund just IM'd one of the problem putting Dixie plates in the microwave. There'd be no problem with putting the Dixie plates in the microwave. What about oral hygiene? So the question is, with toothpaste, mouthwash, lipsticks, these are not items that are really meant to be eaten, but they do go into the mouth, and that was a machlokes between our poskim and Belsky Zatzal was always machmer. He felt that this is something that touches the mouth, it goes into the mouth. You should get kosher with Pesach or kosher in general for these items. Rav Shefta felt that they are not items that you eat, and therefore they're not in the category of a food item, and therefore there would be no problem on Pesach of toothpaste, mouthwashes, and lipsticks. We really recommend that everyone speak to their personal Rav for guidance in terms of what they should do for Pesach with these items. So a little bit about medications and nutritionals, then we'll open up the floor for questions. It really depends, those medication and nutritionals. The first thing that I would point out is that if you're prescribed a medication by a physician, do not stop taking it without first consulting with your physician, and then if he says you might be able to come off it, then speak to your Rav. It really depends on the type of medication, if it's a swallowing pill, if it's a chewable, if it's a gel cap, if it's a liquid medication. Both chewables and liquid medications might be considered a food item and therefore might be more problematic. Those that are pills are not food items because they're not eaten the normal way, and therefore they are less of a problem. But our items are that you should, again, when it comes to our guidelines, use extreme caution, consult with the doctor. You should know if there's, forms of creams, not chewable pills, injections, may be used for Pesach as well. It's also permissible to grind pills and mix upon the food so a child can take it. But, consult the doctor to make sure that the child is getting the correct dosage and the potency of the pill is not compromised. Liquid medications, the chewable pills, and those pills that are coated with a flavored glaze or gel caps might not be kosher as well. Therefore, if possible, they should replace them in the direction of a doctor with a non-chewable and uncoated version. If consumption is not possible and a person is in a state of sakana or subject to sakana, any possible danger to human life, the medication to be owned and consumed. The same applies if the condition is not yet a subject to sakana, but might deteriorate to that point. Especially in today's day and age, your rabbi you should be in contact with your rabbi just to make sure that you're maintaining a healthy medication and any type of medications or health substances that you need to maintain your body and immune system. If the substitution is not possible, consult with your rabbi. Oftentimes, many items contain kitniyos, which will be permitted to people who are ill as well. So then there's also nutritional, such as Benefiber, and the like. We have thickets, those that have problems eating, digesting, and sure as well. For the elderly and infirm, some of them might contain hummus, which would be minute amounts, which would be bought before Pesach. They might contain kitniyos as well. For those that are elderly or infirm or young children, we have a whole list on our oupassover.org website of the nutritionals that we've approved for Pesach. But it's the hummus that we bought before Pesach, and again, purchased it before Pesach. What about prenatal vitamins? So for prenatal vitamins, depends again if it's a chewable, if it's a swallowable pill. This year and last year, Maxi Health had a special hummus-free run, which I don't know how available they are, but they do have special prenatal vitamins that are available for Pesach with the OU on it. Baby food is another common question. And that, first off, for those who've never made Pesach before or have not really looked into food products for children, Kitniyos, the customs of Kitniyos for Ashkenazim do not apply to children and the ill. So, however, it is best not to use rice or millet, and you need to keep the equipment separate. We do have on our website a way to make your own rice cereal. The baby cereals that are out there do contain hummus inside of them, and therefore we do not recommend any of the actual baby cereals for Pesach, even though it's just as like rice. Just give me a second, and I will take questions in a couple minutes. Just hold on to the question. We do have Gerber baby foods that are acceptable for Pesach. The Gerber baby foods, carrots and squash, are not certified for Passover by the OU. However, we have identified them as being accessible, and therefore you could go ahead and buy the carrots and squash for the children. The green beans and peas are Kitniyos for the OU, but again, will be acceptable for the infants as well. First choice under the OU also has special OUP certified products such as applesauce, carrots, pears, and sweet potatoes, which are actually made as kosher in the Pesach. Many of the baby formulas only contain Kitniyos, and we have a whole list again on oupassover.org. There's too many for them for me to mention, but they are there with most of the basic formulas listed. Again, the OU is here to help you with your Pesach presentations. You can email us anytime at kosherq@ou.org. Our hotline is 212-613-8241. Again, 212-613-8241. And we have operators standing by Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 5 until 2:30 on Friday. The week before Pesach, we'll have extended hours until 6 p.m. as well as the Sunday before Pesach and Erev Pesach as well. We're also available at oukosher.org on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we have, as I mentioned before, our special Passover website, which is www.oupassover.org. So that concludes the formal part of my presentation. I'm going to open up the floor now to any questions that people might have. And give me a second here. I will now give you the ability to unmute. But second.
This is not a good idea.
If anyone has questions, if you can raise your hand, we'll be glad to, unmute you and you can ask those questions as well. One question just came to me was, where can we find info on toothpaste lipsticks that are acceptable? We don't have any guides that have toothpaste lipsticks. There are a few different ones that are available out in the public. The one that we recommend is Rabbi Best from Los Angeles has a guide on those, and that's what we use at the OU office. Anyone else with a question, you can raise your hand, or you have the ability now to unmute yourself one by one. So someone's asking, what about honey? That's actually a question. There are two other points that I did not cover. I'd like to just go back to a second, and that is honey. Previously, we've said that honey, there is a possibility that pure honey is adulterated. There's been reports of that in the industry that they might use corn syrup in that. This year, due to possible shortages as well as the inability of people to get some of the products, we would recommend if it has, so long as the honey has an OU on it and it says pure honey, that would be fine for Pesach. Again, OU Passover has a whole list of honeys that we've also approved for Pesach. Another question we get is, what's the story with nuts? Are those acceptable for Pesach? So with regards to nuts, raw nuts in their shell do not require Passover certification. Again, the raw nuts in their shell, but shelled nuts that list BHA, BHT, or any other type of additive on the ingredient require special Passover certification because of the way those preservatives are made. However, if there are no additives listed, raw nuts may be acceptable when bearing an OU symbol. Pecans that are whole or halved are acceptable with plain OU certification, and midget and pecan pieces require Passover certification. So that's also about honey and nuts. Any other questions? A second. Yeah, TC has a question.
If I have a broom that's pretty new, could I just like spray it with Ajax or something like that to make whatever chametz, or do I really need to buy a new broom?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. The problem is that sometimes the Ajax doesn't get into it and doesn't fully get rid of that chametz, like make it totally pogum. And we really recommend, finding ways to get that broom so that it's clean, just in case, because brooms do have, real pieces of chametz that get stuck in there.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else with a question? You can either unmute yourself or raise your hand, and we can unmute you. Yeah. Didi. Okay. What about cleaning products? We did mention before cleaning products would be acceptable from would be acceptable from any source. There's no problem with that. Pacifiers would be the same as baby bottles. We recommend getting new ones for Pesach because of either what's prepared in it or the way that the stock is. Like at a certain point in time, it's really impossible. A new dustpan, it is possible, but the dustpan, just make sure it's cleaned well, because that is that's just a solid item which can be perfectly clear. Covered. What about a high chair? So I'm just going to make a note about koshering on our website, OUPassover.org. We actually go through the kitchen bit by bit and piece by piece. It has over there high chair. We recommend scrubbing down and then covering the tray for the tradition of Pesach.
Okay, TC.
TC has another question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, all right, can you send the PowerPoint, this one that you're showing?
I have to think about it.
Like
the web now will be available on the OU's website, so that will be available in that format.
Okay, fine. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else with a question? Either you can chat the question or you can raise your hand. Can you quickly go over how to kosher sink and an oven? So we're going to be having another seminar jointly hosted by the OU and the Vaad of Queens this coming Sunday night, also at 8 p.m. with the same Zoom link. And then we're going to have questions and answers with Rabbi Moshe Eleff, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the OU, as well as Rabbi Chaim Schwartz, who is the Executive Vice President of the Vaad of Queens. We'll go through his entire kitchen bit by bit to go through how to kosher things. I would just ask you to, if you could wait till then. If not, you can again visit our website at oupassover.org. Yeah, it's going to be the same link for Sunday night as well at 8 p.m. So Meir is asking that peppercorns are okay without the OUP. Ground pepper is a problem for the same reason as other spices, that their facilities have all sorts of contaminants and other particles that are flying in even on the lines. We don't recommend them without Passover certification. Again, Leo is asking about boiling water, a separate spout on the sink. Again, Rabbi Schwartz will discuss that this coming Sunday night. Question from Y. Rosenthal. He lives in New York City in a new apartment. But I don't have a filter yet, and I'm not sure if I can get bottled. I'm not sure if I can get bottled water. I heard that if I cook food. I can add regular water. Is that true? So we really do recommend, first off, it was Machlokes Rudelsky and Rishachter. That's how Rudelsky felt that there really was no problem with the water in New York City. Rishachter felt that there was a problem, and at the OU we are not going to require any food service to operation in New York City to use a filter on their water. That being said, we really do recommend, I am not sure about boiling water. I'd have to look into that. I don't know. I don't want to say one way or another offhand, but if you have a Brita filter, that would also work. Danny's asking what materials do you recommend using covered counters? Again, covering counters, we'll discuss that more with koshering. That's up to each person what they prefer. A lot of people use contact paper. People will use corrugated plastic cover tops. People use just butcher block paper. Really, as just about anything that you can imagine that can be covered can be used. Rabbi Stiegelman doesn't like Brita filters. He holds that they're not good for filtering out the bugs. But on the sink, a Brita filter on the sink would be okay. Again, I had whole house filters, and I don't normally deal with the New York City waters, so I can't say one way or another. I have to take a look at that in depth for you. A few other questions that came up. What you do if you unpack your knives for Pesach that were used last year and you don't remember which is dairy or meat? So the truth of the matter is that normally we say that the halacha is that when you kosher something, you can't kosher from milchus to fleshing. However, with regards to Pesach, it's the one time of year that halacha is that you're allowed to go ahead and change something from its status. So all you do is do a regular koshering, a hagol, take a pot of water, boil it up, and dump those knives in. Make sure they're clean and they haven't been used obviously in 24 hours. Dump them in boiling water, take them out, rinse them off on the cold water, and then you can then designate them for whichever one you want to use for milk or for fleshing. Excuse me. Yaakov Epstein is asking what's the story about putting Dixie plates in the microwave said before, and that was that there really is no problem putting Dixie plates into the microwave on Pesach. You can go ahead and use that. Esther's asking, do I need a new urn? Again, it depends on if you can kosher it. It's like any type of other pot. If you can, kosher the whole thing, basically boil it up, and then pour hot water over the spigot and all the sides, you could kosher the urn as well. Again, Rabbi Schwartz will deal more with the urn of Hagala, the pots and pans, next week. For garbage can, iPhone is asking, do you need a new garbage can? You do not necessarily need a new garbage can, provided that you can just get it clean. Sometimes the garbage cans have things that really stick to the bottom. Any other questions? People can feel free to unmute themselves if you have that ability, or to raise your hand. Does pure maple syrup need an OUP? That is a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to take a look at that. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can just pull up one of my databases here. If I can get an answer on maple syrup. Yeah, so maple syrup for Pesach would require Passover certification. Any other questions? Does gefilte fish need an OUP? Most definitely. Karen is asking about gefilte fish needing to be kosher Pesach. Most definitely. The regular gefilte fishes use matzah meal in them, which a lot of times are not kosher. The Pesach matzah meal are, believe it or not, chametz matzah. And so therefore you need to make sure, you absolutely need to make sure that your gefilte fish has an OUP on it. Then you need to be careful. If you eat gebrach, or if you don't eat gebrach, or how makbid you are on the different types of matzahs, because some of the gefilte fishes that are certified for Pesach might have matzah meal in it, which may or may not meet your requirements. Pitluck is asking, excuse me, are you allowed to use a pot filler that you use during the year for Pesach? I presume you're referring to a pot filler that's attached to the wall that's filling out. Can you IM me about that? Yeah. So that would be the same thing as the sink. You would have the same thing. You should let it sit, make sure it's clean, let it sit for 24 hours, and then do Hagoa over the spout, and then change the end of it if you can. Any other? Regular ground coffee is good with any extra, just an OU. Again, this is an OU webcast, so really we recommend the ones that have an OU on that. Again, the ground depends. If it's just ground in the package, that will be fine. If it's ground at a supermarket, you go through one of those grinders. We don't recommend that for Pesach because of the chametz that can conceivably be on those grinders from the other flavored coffee. But in truth, the truth of the matter is that regular ground coffee would be acceptable even without a hechsher, as well as just plain coffee beans. What about a water pitcher? So a water pitcher is a good question. Again, it really depends. We're machmer, and we recommend that people get new water pitchers. Again, if it's not possible and it's something that always stays cold, you could then let it clean it out and then use it afterwards. If it's the type of thing that you could actually do hago on, then it's best to do hago. If you can't do it, again, it depends on the situation. The Empire Chicken need OUP. So the story with meat, I actually did not put them in here, is that raw meat, hold on one second. One second. I just lost my, there you go. Okay. Sorry. In terms of meat, any raw whole meat will be acceptable for Pesach. I mean, if you have a whole roast, regular whole chicken cutlets, even if it doesn't say OUP on it, that would be fine. However, if it's ground beef, that would be a problem because a lot of times the meat is ground on the same lines as you used to make kishka and other type of chametz items. So therefore, anything that's ground or further processed, such as pickled, uses citric acid and the like a corned beef, that would have to be certified for Pesach. Just plain raw meat, like a chicken cutlet, a steak, a flanken, a brisket, that would be fine even without the OUP symbol on it. Do we have to change the other things filtered for Pesach? So we do recommend that we do not make any recommendations for that. Again, it's as if it's like changing your pipes. There's no need to change your pipes in the house for Pesach as well. What about water filter on or in a fridge? Also an ice maker. One second, please. I don't know offhand about the ice makers in the fridge. I guess it really depends on what it's used for and things like that. They have to go through books looking for chametz. Again, there's different minhagim about that. Depends on where your books have been. My wife is personally machmer and fills off all my farm of where anything has been could have possibly gone through. Unless you check it out, the minhag is to really go through your svarim that might have gotten chametz in them if you want to use them Pesach, but if you know for sure that there's no chametz in them, it's not a problem. Michelle was asking, Everclear alcohol used as a sand sanitizer. I'm not familiar with Everclear. Michelle, please instant message me about Everclear alcohol. Is that just like a pure alcohol, or is that a specific type of alcohol? So it's actual, I just looked it up. It's an actual grain alcohol. I would not recommend this for Pesach, and there's a good chance it actually is chametz as well. So I wouldn't recommend Everclear alcohol. Why Rosenthal is asking about cut up pieces of raw salmon or the fish. Again, it depends on how they're cut up. Was it a chametz knife? Was it not a chametz knife? If it's fresh cut salmon with a clean knife, then it would be fine. Pinchas asking, does the break front need to be covered on Pesach? Provided that it's sealed so you can't get to the dishes inside, then there's no problem with the break front on Pesach. You just want to minimize anything that you might be able to get to on Pesach.